Welcome to the Cold Deck Podcast. I am your host, Cold Deck Chris. Yes, we have a name change. I figured it was time. The Polarizing Chris thing was kind of getting tired, in my opinion, even though a lot of people are giving me feedback that they fucking hate the name. And some people like it, but honestly, I didn't do it for anybody else but myself, right? So who gives a shit? I wanted to kick off this episode with a few things. One, I have been really nostalgic lately about poker. And when I mean nostalgic, I mean when I first got into the game, when I first started watching it on ESPN, right? World Series of Poker. I want to say this was around 2007. I became utterly obsessed and would watch the marathons that they'd have on ESPN. I think it was ESPN2 from like 9 o'clock at night till like 2, 3 in the morning. They would have episodes running non-stop. But with that said, I want to go ahead and share a screen here and go into some old school nostalgia. Okay. And just listen to this sound. This intro still gives me goosebumps today.
Johnny Chen is the champion of the 18th Annual World Series.
The Champion Series of Poker Champions.
The World Champion of Poker.
For 34 years, only one event has defined poker greatness. And even now, with poker's popularity reaching unprecedented heights, it remains the one event that guarantees poker immortality.
The winner of this tournament is the world champion.
We did it, man!
This event is the one event you want to win. You're called a world champion the rest of your life.
This is the tournament. This is it.
This year, the tournament's field has exploded with record-setting numbers.
Let me just pause this for a minute. Anybody else have goosebumps? Anybody else thinking how much they miss these times? This is when the game was pure. No RTA controversies. No laptops anywhere. Yes, shut the fuck up. I know it was 2000 and what? I don't even know what year we're looking at. 2004, 2005. I get it. Okay, I get it. But this was what got people into the game. This was a special time. I think that's missing right now. I'm very much one of those people who believe that even though the game is as popular as ever, if you go on Poker News, if you go on WSOP.com, right? The game's more popular than it's ever been. The most entrants ever in the World Series of Poker main event. 10,400 and something. I don't know the exact number. I think I'm pretty close. But doesn't it feel different? For anyone who's been playing for longer than 10 years, unfortunately like myself, doesn't it feel slightly different to you than it used to feel? That's my opinion. That's how I feel. Not saying it's right. Not saying you have to agree with me, but that's just how I feel. This was a special time. This is something that I think we need to get back to, that excitement. The overall gust of the game, right? The moneymaker effect. Anyone who was there remembers how incredibly amazing the game was during that time. I feel like we could head back to that. But we got to make a decision on exactly how we want to present the game. We have to make sure we figure out what's important to grow the game. Is it allowing solvers at the table? Is it allowing laptops on the rail with coaching? I don't think that's it. And in fact, it fucking disgusts me. I think it's something that is going to completely destroy the game for years to come if we don't come up with a solution. Now, what is the solution? Right? Well, let's start off with the World Series of Poker's handling of the situation. Let's go ahead and talk about what that looks like. Okay? I'm on the World Series of Poker website, right? WSOP.com. They're talking about World Series of Poker Europe. They're talking about playing on their free app. that has shit tons of ads on it. They're talking about Paradise, World Series of Poker Paradise in the Bahamas, right? What happened to Poker Stars Caribbean Adventure, the PCA? Is that just poof? Is that just gone? Right? Now we have the World Series of Poker Paradise. Okay. We go to the actual stories that they're covering on the World Series of Poker.com website. And there is not a single statement about what transpired on the main event. We talk about who won the World Series of Poker. Shout out to Jonathan Tamayo, who is right now, the world champion of poker for the year 2024. But I do believe in the coming months, we will see an asterisk next to his name. There will be some kind of discipline coming. It has to. The fact that it's taken this long, the fact that we just completely ignored it, the fact that there was so much controversy, and it doesn't matter what podcast you watch, Doug Polk, the Snap Call, hundreds of others podcasts covering the topic, sports, it hit mainstream. ESPN was talking about this. Fox Sports was talking about this. The fact that there's not a single statement from Caesars Entertainment, the WSOP, it tells you how broken the game is right now. There's a problem here. We have a problem. That problem is that we can't decide whether we want to cater to one side or the other. We're too afraid to offend people. We're too afraid to be confrontational with players. This was televised under a paywall. That's a topic for another show. But we're not growing the game. We're not growing the game. They must have used Photoshop and edited out Nietzsche with his laptop in the background and McKeon taking out the earpiece. We're never going to truly understand if there was actual cheating going on, but I saw enough with my own two eyes, and I'm not a fucking moron, to realize that there was some serious infringements on the game happening on live television, recorded in front of everybody. In my opinion, Tamayo should give up the bracelet. He should be disciplined. His prize money should be requested back and dispersed to the rest of the final table. And Jordan Griff should be declared the main event champion of 2024. It's a better story, right? He's an amateur, a guy who literally went back to work 2 days later after winning the main event. Who does that? Second place, runner up in the main event of World Series of Poker. And he went back to work the next day. I mean, talk about a guy the people can get behind. That's amazing. And I'm not saying anything's wrong with Jonathan Tamayo. He's said his piece. He didn't know what was on that laptop. He didn't know that he was being coached. Yes, he did say that. He did not know that any of the advice being given was from RTA or solvers being used at the table. He said that. That's recorded. I couldn't find the clip. I wanted to find it to play it for you guys. I'll get better at this podcasting thing. But that's a tragedy. That's something that should not be allowed. Period. End of story. What I'm hoping for is that now that GG Poker has taken over the World Series, and mind you, that is an incredible piece of news by itself. I may have an entire episode around my thoughts about that coming up, but I just think we need to have a clear stance on this for the game to truly grow. I will not be surprised if we don't come even close to 10,000 players in next year's main event. There's too much going on with this RTA and the solvers and the laptops at the table. I mean, Twitter was ablaze for 2 straight weeks after the main event. I just think that we need a clear-cut decision on this. GG, with their reputation, which is not the best, let's be real, but with their reputation of having fairness on online, right? During online games, there's no HUDs allowed. There's no RTA. They supposedly monitor bots. I don't really know how you can do that. Every site has said that's pretty much impossible to fully regulate bots, and any site that says they are is pretty much lying to you. So there you go. There's a big bubble burst for a lot of you guys playing online. There is no true way to fully accurately determine if someone is playing with a bot or not. The software is just not that sophisticated. You guys think that there are these multi-billion-dollar companies with tons of security. Yes, they do have security. Yes, they have people checking, but they're just as clueless as anybody else. So don't let anyone fool you on that regard. My thought is we need to have a clear stance on whether or not you are suspended or disqualified from the tournament. Here's my thought. If you get caught with RTA during any event, I don't care if it's the main event, I don't care if it's the Colossus, I don't care if it's the dealer's choice or the, excuse me, the casino employees event. It does not matter. If you're at the World Series of Poker and you are caught with a RTA software or a solver. Okay. And for you people who are wondering, why does he keep saying RTA? RTA stands for real time assistance. It means you click a button and it tells you what to do during the hand. Online poker has been dealing with this for a long time. It is a problem. The games are becoming much tougher. Now, there are sites that can recognize if you have those apps or websites open while you're playing. That's a step in the right direction. But there's no regulation for live play. And during the World Series, on more than one occasion, they said if GTO Wizard or any other solvers are being used during play, you will be disqualified and your chips collected. We need people to enforce that. And I'm looking at the World Series of Poker directly to enforce that. You guys can do better. Okay. You raked in tons of money in Rake, and you're telling me that you can't hire an extra couple of floor people to walk around and monitor games happening, the tables going around and seeing people's phones out. So here's my suggestion. If you're caught with RTA or a solver, GTO Wiz open on your phone, or you have a laptop or an iPad at the table, it's a 1-round penalty. If it happens a second time, you're disqualified, chips collected, hit the showers. Period. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. And I'm very much in the camp of people, and I've been talking to some players that have the same sentiment that we shouldn't allow phones, we shouldn't allow iPads, we should not allow laptops at the table. Now, this is controversial because a lot of people multi-table, right? They're playing online events as they're playing live. That should not be allowed as well. I think it's very disrespectful to the game. I think it causes distraction. It causes people to, especially for the players that are playing as they're multi-tabling. How can you truly be focused? You're playing for hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. Okay. And you're going to do that while you're playing a live game in front of a bunch of people who are not doing that. I just think it's a bad look. It shouldn't be allowed. Make your choice. You either play online or you play live. My opinion, they should just have an entire separate series. Have an entire separate online series that does not coincide with the live World Series of Poker. Have it happen either right after or right before the World Series of Poker, and let all the online nerds get after each other. That's my opinion. So, with that said, to wrap this up, because I didn't want this to be a long episode. This could be a short episode. I'm going to do a lot of these. And mind you, pardon me for not having a background right now. That's how important it was to record this podcast. But I very much think that we're very close to the game becoming legal online nationwide. But things like this, solvers at the table, coaching, Dominic Nietzsche being a fucking moron and disrespectful to people online, that's not going to grow the game. That's not going to help. We need regulation. We need some discipline. That's my 2 cents. On the next episode, I'm going to bitch and complain about some other things. But please, in the description or leave a review. I appreciate it. You guys mean the world to me. I'm doing this for the people, for the poker community. This is a long time coming. I can't tell you how excited I am. And I'll get more into why I started doing this in another episode. But with all that being said, get out on the tables, gamble a shit ton, empty your paycheck, and let's fucking runner on somebody. Take care, everybody.